Big week for the Texans, big week for CJ Stroud. I will pick a few of my favorite answers from the press conference and respond to them. The Texans have never made it to a conference championship game. CJ was asked about the significance of that.
Man, that'd be huge, I didn't know that, but I think that'll be a huge accomplishment. And, this team are really motivated to, go up there and play some good ball. And, a great Kansas City team was been in these moments forever. So, it's gonna take all of us. It's gonna take a lot of, execution and, get that done. So, got to be on our A game.
Yeah, they've got to be on their A game. You're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are going for a three-peat. Texans are trying to make their first appearance ever in an AFC championship game. And we know, as every team that has played the Chiefs knows this year, you gotta play four quarters. The Chiefs are the consummate professionals in the fourth quarter. They're very much like the Astros have been in the playoffs for many, many years. They have that experience. They have that savvy. And when it comes down to crunch time, we saw what happened with the Texans a few weeks ago. The Texans played really competitively the first three quarters, but ultimately the Chiefs were simply the better team in the fourth quarter. Next question, is it helpful that the Texans played the Chiefs so recently?
Yeah, you definitely got to go back and see things that work, things that didn't work, and I think that definitely helps playing them so recently. But they also have that advantage as well. So we got to be able to still have a new game plan and do things that are new. And but yeah, it definitely does help to see a familiar team again. And they do a lot of great things. And we didn't really see a whole bunch of it. I think it was like the exotic things. So I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff started to show up. So yeah, but it definitely does help that we seen them not too long ago.
What worked? What didn't work? Screens. Not so successful versus the Chiefs, as we all painfully remember. Now, the short passing game, stop routes, slants, all of these things, that worked really well the other night. As far as what CJ said about not seeing the exotic stuff, look, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, is simply one of the best, has been for a couple decades now. And he is really good at confusing quarterbacks, at confusing offensive lines. The big challenge for CJ really is to, again, let the game come to him, as he did after that botched fumble play where everything just kind of clicked. But at the same time, man, pre-snap, you gotta do your best to diagnose the biggest threats, understand whether they're blitzing or whether they're not, all that stuff. I mean, you go against Spagnuolo and it's 65 or 70 instantaneous chess matches. Next question, CJ was asked about the bond he has with Joe Mixon.
Yeah, Joe has been, doing great, been, helpful to all of us, making our alignment right. But, our linemen have been doing a great job in the run game, giving him the opportunities, and he takes them every time. So it's been cool to watch, Sometimes I just hand it off and watch him go to work, So it's nice to have that, and not have a whole bunch on my plate all the time. And, but yeah, even when our run game isn't working, I know he leans on me. So it's just playing off one another, playing complementary football. But it's very helpful to have somebody like Joe.
One of the most pleasant surprises from that Chargers game was the way that the run game opened up in the second half, particularly when the Texans were able to just squeeze the clock down and win the game with a long drive in the fourth quarter. And yeah, it does open things up in the passing game too. The linebackers, if they respect the run a little bit more, there's some more openings over the middle of the field. You get Nico Collins on in-breaking routes. The other thing about Mixon is that, man, both he and Azeez Al-Shire were cited by so many players in the postgame and on into this week for their leadership in these moments. And Mixon, I mean, he's a dog. He just, like, boy, you can see it in the way he's playing, the way he talks, everything else, that he just wants it. And, you can't put a number on it, you can't quantify it, but, like, there's something about that for the younger guys. If they can see the leaders, the old heads in the building, practice and play like it really means something to them, the young guys follow suit. Next question was about some T-shirts that guys were wearing before the game, kind of a show of support for Tank Dell. And CJ was asked, how cool was it having that?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't like it, but I mean, I like that, but it reminds me of like the funeral shirts, and that's kind of what we do back home. Is like, but I'd rather be there for somebody than rather just wear a T-shirt. So, but I don't mind wearing the shirt. But I think, our EQ gets them for us, and it's a good way to remember somebody for that year, But I don't want them to ever think like they just on the shirt. Like I actually do check up on my guys who aren't playing no more, care for them more than just wearing a T-shirt. So, but they're dope. It's a good way. I hope they like it. But I think I don't know if I want to be all up on a shirt. But no, I think it's amazing that we do that and everybody shows respect to that person who is out for the rest of the year. But thank God they're not on the other side.
I like how he caught himself because he wanted to point out, yeah, I do like the gesture, but I don't also act like we're attending a funeral here. Next question, when you were growing up, did you watch a lot of playoff football, and did that spark something in a young CJ Stroud?
Yeah, I definitely looked up to a lot of guys growing up, and watched these type of games growing up, and I remember watching Houston play in Kansas City some years back and went up early, and then they ended up coming back, So and I'm not saying that's how it's gonna go, but I remember watching that one. I remember watching all the AFC championships with Burrow and Mahomes, and watched the one with Josh Allen and Mahomes, all those great games. So, I've always wanted to be in these type of moments, which is amazing. I'm able to do it in year two again, So I'm definitely not taking it for granted, and definitely, going to try to earn my op and try to run with it. So
24-0, CJ. It was 24-0. The Chiefs came back from 24-0 to beat the Texans. They ran out of gunpowder because they were firing the cannon so much there in Kansas City. That was a stretch in which Kansas City would be down by double digits in every game in the playoffs that year, come back and win ultimately a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made you guys relive that. Yeah, there are demons to exorcise, but it also does make me feel really freaking old that CJ's thinking about that as something that he remembers from his childhood. He would have been, 16 years old watching that in Southern California? Not a single one of us owned a mask. If you'd shown me a QR code, I would have no idea what to do with it. Still kind of confused by them. Such is the cruelty of middle-agedom. Next question, are you guys doing anything specifically to prepare for cold weather? Belichick used to put the footballs in freezing cold water. Are you going to freeze your balls before you go freeze your balls off?
I don't really have nothing on my sleeve, but, that's kind of one of the reasons I went to Ohio State was to play in the cold and to get used to that. So, I played in cold weather games before. It's different, but it's better than playing when it's wet. So, and then it snows, which is better than if it rains. So, I'm kind of used to them, but at the same time, we really don't play in the cold here, but definitely have been trained by it in college.
Forecast high of 26 on Saturday. 9% chance of precipitation, which would be snow. 100% agree with CJ. Rain is bad. Wintry mix is the worst. So if the temperature were up around 32 degrees or something where it ends up being sleet and snow and rain and everything, that tends to just seem like it affects the ball the most. And I think, look, the three big hitters on offense, CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, have all spent a whole lot of time playing football up north. So I'm not worried about it being a shock to the system. Obviously, Kansas City at home and playing in those weather conditions more often. They'd have a theoretical advantage there, but it doesn't look like these are weather conditions that are going to really affect either teams to an extreme degree. Next question, CJ was asked about the botched snap that turned into a huge Xavier Hutchinson reception and how that felt like the turnaround for a lot of things in that game.
Yeah, I kind of answered that. I don't really want to go back. It was a crazy play. It was a great job by Hutch, but I continue to run, and, I try to do my best to salvage the play. But, it's ball, and that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Not how you start, it's how you finish, like I said. And things like that spark energy. Execution sparks energy. Plays spark energy. So, those things are definitely helpful.
I like that answer because it speaks to a desire to not dramatize things too much. Not everything has to be an inspirational story. Not everything has to be, like that was the moment where we felt like things could change. You're like, do your job. That's why I do like Belichick's mantra, and that goes all the way back to Bill Parcells of just do your job. Let's not make this more than it has to be. Remember we were talking about perspective a few minutes ago? Let's just go out, do your job. Yes. Next question, looking back at the tape, what did you guys capture offensively that you'd like to carry this week into Kansas City?
Against Kansas City.
Just execution, just owning the little things. And, finally we've been able to, get some practice with some guys, because we didn't really have all these guys in training camp or OTA. So now we're able to get some guys in that we've been here for a couple weeks now, and moving guys up from practice squad to get more time in and reps down. So that showed in the last game. So we try to take that over, just execution.
Speaking of guys that had only been there a couple weeks, Deontay Johnson released yesterday. I don't know what's going on with Deontay Johnson. This will mark the end of me naming him an X Factor every single week. I think John Mechie is the big X Factor for me now because, look, we saw him have some really good moments in that game, but we also saw him have some issues holding on to the football. And somebody yesterday on the radio show asked, hey, why was Mechie targeted so much? Well, for one, he was open. I mean, him getting open wasn't the issue. He had opportunities. You just got to hold on to the ball when you're trying to partake in those opportunities. So John Mechie goes back to his X Factor role that he was all of training camp when he just got steadily and gradually better throughout camp. And we wondered, all right, maybe this is the year. He's still a big X factor right now. Next question, CJ was asked about him using his legs so effectively in the Chargers game. Joe Mixon has been a voice in CJ's head all year long, encouraging him to run more. What can you say about that?
Yeah, he's been talking to me about that for a long time, and I feel like I've been able to kind of do that this year. Throughout the year, I think I ran for 60 yards against the Jets. It was probably my career high, which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it's not something I've ever been opposed of. It's just I think I'm elite at throwing the ball in the pocket, but I have been able to extend plays this year, and I think that's a good thing for us. And when it's need be, it's not something that I'm just looking for all the time, but definitely is something that I think can help us get an edge on the team. And yeah, I'm more than able and more than capable, and yeah.
Yeah, I think CJ should run more, and I'm going to blame my generation, Gen X, for this because I think guys like CJ have been told by guys my age, listen, man, you want to be an elite pocket passer, you want to be an elite pocket passer. And this is the one thing I would tell CJ. For one, the NFL where pure pocket quarterbacks don't run, that is long in the rearview mirror. Pat Mahomes is the best example of that. Nobody's going to call him an athletic quarterback or any other code word you want to use on him, but he's athletic enough to take advantage of those opportunities downfield. And then because he can take advantage of those opportunities downfield, that opens up things in the pass game because they have to keep a spy on him in the middle of the field. And it all complements themselves. So it's just where CJ says, I want to be an elite passer. The elite passers do run. And also, how do I put this delicately? CJ, you are in no danger of being labeled an athletic quarterback. It's just in a different boat. So Pat Mahomes, he is elite AF in the pocket, but man, he uses his legs really effectively. Explore the space. Use all the tools available. Every available resource. Next question, how important is your football IQ in facing a team like the Chiefs?
It's huge, man. Their DC, he's amazing. He does a lot of great blitz packages and plays a lot of sound coverage, bend don't break type of defense, but they make a lot of plays. They attack the football, and they're playing at a high level. They've been able to uphold their team a lot this year, and keep the games close, and it starts up front with Chris Jones, amazing player, and then Nick Bolden, great player. The whole linebacker team communicates very well. Reed in the back doing his thing, and then, McDuffie, I think, is, like I told y'all before, one of the best corners in the league, in my opinion, and plays nickel too. So, they do a lot of great things, and, their coaches know how to put them in positions to, execute at a high level. So, we got to be on our A game and try to do our best to, withstand the surge early on and, chop wood, carry water throughout the game.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo is just one of the best, as I said earlier, has been best for a long time in the league. And they played it relatively vanilla versus the Texans in the first matchup. I would expect that now with basically a lot of their starters having had 23 days off since the last time they played football, Spagnuolo is going to have a few wrinkles up his sleeve. This Chiefs team in general does a really good job when they've got extra time to prepare. And even though they didn't know exactly which opponent they were going to have, they've had time to do some pre-prep for all of them. So that'll be the challenge for CJ, but also for the offensive line in particular. And we know that's the big question, how's the offensive line going to hold up? They have cleaned up the pass protection in a lot of ways, but they've still got their blemishes. But look, I expect the Texans offense to do some good things in this game. It all comes down to what do they do in the fourth quarter. As it's been with this team for the entire season, there's a stark difference between the first half and the second half. That was what was so nice about that Chargers game, was that, man, the offense was night and day better as the game progressed. It's going to be a fun one. I'm Seth Payne, played for the Texans a long time ago. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share with a friend.
Man, that'd be huge, I didn't know that, but I think that'll be a huge accomplishment, and, this team are really motivated to, go up there and play some good ball, and, a great Kansas City team was been in these moments forever, so, it's gonna take all of us, and it's gonna take a lot of, execution and, get that done, so got to be on our A game.